A large vessel loaded with 6,958 tons of construction materials and heavy equipment set sail from Pyeongtaek Harbor. At the same time, the Korean icebreaker Araon also finished its preparations for its departure from Busan Harbor. They headed toward the same destination. Antarctica. The gateway to Antarctica is Christchurch, New Zealand. Araon had to refuel before heading toward the Antarctic. It refueled for a full day and pulled up anchor for another full day of sailing to enter the Antarctic Ocean. From Christchurch, it takes about 10 days to get to Terra Nova Bay, where the Jang Bogo Station is located. This is where the Antarctic Ocean begins. Sailors used to call this area the Roaring Sea. Huge waves hit the 16-meter-high bow of the ship. The roar comes from a thundering noise and the waves hitting the bow. Ice starts to form on the windshield wipers when the ship enters the Screaming Sea, which shows what the Antarctic Ocean is all about. When it reaches the latitude of 65 degrees south, the ice edge appears, showing the true image of Antarctica. Floating ice, over 1 kilometer long, appears in the shape of a huge pancake. It can only be seen in the Antarctic Ocean, not in the Arctic region. The huge ice shelf formed by 5 glaciers combined, and the ice mountains beyond, were what constituted the Earth during the Ice Age. It is the coldest but toughest area in the world. The temperature during the winter season falls to 70 degrees below zero, and over 300 square kilometers of the ocean freezes. Therefore, the area of the Antarctic doubles in size. When the dark winter ends with the sunrise of the white nights, the power of the Ice Kingdom declines. The ice on the Antarctica melts into the ocean and becomes glaciers, and the glaciers split into a pile of floating ice, a piece of sculpture created by nature. The pile of floating ice that moves along the ocean currents occasionally forms a 300-kilometer long ice cap. The ice belt becomes a barrier that blocks the way to the South Pole. The only thing that can pass through the ice belt is an icebreaker. The icebreaker, Araon, leads the way to the ice belt.
It will be impossible. The same point.
Yeah, point, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second.
Yeah.
So now.
At 3 a.m. on November 27th, an emergency measure to dispatch a Russian ice pilot was carried out. The ice pilot searched within a radius of 30 to 40 meters. But there was no way to pass through the ice belt. There was only one solution. It was to read photos of the ice and find the thinnest part of it. A rigorous schedule with only 2 hours of sleep a day continued for 10 days. The construction team plans to unload construction materials from the end of November. It's unusual for the ship to depart in November when the sea around the Jang Bogo Station is still frozen. The team chose such an ambitious plan because it's bound by a sense of duty to work on a national project without delay. Based on the design, Araon can break up to 1 meter of ice. However, quite a number of sections are 2.5 meters thick. An aggressive plan to break through the ice, counting on the power of Araon, begins. Araon makes its way through the icy ocean at an average speed of 22 kilometers per hour, pushing out or breaking the ice. When Araon picks up speed, its bow glides over the ice, and the 1 to 2 meter thick ice breaks under the weight of the ship. After that, an ice knife on the bottom of the ship will split the ice into two and push them aside. Where the ice is thin, ship can move 100 meters more, but the distance decreases gradually. Araon runs 3 generators at full capacity and maximizes its engine power, but it has reached its limit. What's worse, the freight vessel BBC Danube can't keep up with the icebreaker even when Araon opened the way. When the vessel takes the wrong route to the thick ice, it needs to stop. Then Araon will go back and rescue the vessel by breaking the ice into small bits.
우리가 접근해서 전속력으로 앞으로 추진을 할 겁니다. 일단 단위배는 준비하고 있다가 아라온의 사인 받아서 앞으로 빠져나올 수 있도록 시도하시고요. 그게 안 되면은 그때는 정말 바지선처럼 토잉할 겁니다. 그렇게 알고 계십시오. 교신 끝.
This process was repeated 37 times over the 4 days of working through the night. The freight vessel and Araon work together and finally arrive at Terra Nova Bay, the coastal waters of the construction site, on December 2nd. The continent of Antarctica looms into sight in the distance. They are running behind schedule by about 15 days because of the cautious freight vessel BBC Danube. The developed countries that recognize the importance of Antarctic research for the future survival of the human race made their way into Antarctica half a century ago. Korea was the 33rd newcomer and the 18th country to build a research station in the southernmost continent. The King Sejong Station was constructed on King George Island, located on the coast of Maxwell Bay, adjacent to Chile. In the early days of the Antarctic research, the Korean team had inadequate technical expertise, intense cold and blizzards. So the team first went to King George Island, where the conditions are relatively mild. However, the geographical limits of the station gave rise to Korea's second Antarctic station. The strategic importance of the Antarctic research grew more and more. The King Sejong Station could neither do research proper to the polar region nor gain international approval. The need to build the second Antarctic station was suggested from 1990, but it took 15 years to carry it out. Finally, in 2007, relying on the Australian and Russian icebreakers, a group of Korean scientists made a field investigation of the two areas in the East Antarctica recommended by various countries. They investigated the Larsman Hills, the Mawson Station of Australia, and Enderby Land. However, the Korean scientists had a different opinion. The final field investigation of the three sites was made in 2008. They were in the West Antarctica region, the Amundsen Sea, Cape Berks, and the area where Russia's Leningradskaya station used to be. There was no foreign station in the West Antarctica region, so it was suggested that Korea should pioneer this area. However, the Leningradskaya area didn't meet the requirements, and there was no suitable construction site in the Amundsen Sea. Therefore, Cape Berks was the strong prospect, but the problem was the thick sea ice that even the wind and icebreakers could not deal with. Terra Nova Bay, where the Jang Bogo Station would be constructed, was only an alternative. Having a hard time making a final decision on the construction site, the Korea Polar Research Institute made an urgent field investigation and then carried out a detailed investigation of Cape Berks and Terra Nova Bay. The station construction is most affected by bad weather. The team installed AWS equipment and examined the topography and ground stability of the area. All stations at Antarctica have a difficult time making a supply and transport route through the ice field. The research team examined the possibility of constructing a supply and transport route and a runway on the ice field.
굉장히 좋은 것 같습니다. 아주 연장성도 아주 좋고, 빙질도 아주 좋은 것 같고, 또 거기 비행기를 이동할 수 있는 그 컨테이너 시설도 있고 연료도 갖다 놓고 그래서 아주 비행장 시설로는 아주 훌륭한 것 같습니다.
Located on the wide, flat coast of Terra Nova Bay in northern Victoria Land, the Jang Bogo Station overlooks Terra Nova Bay, surrounded by Mount Browning in the west and Mount Melbourne in the east. This site has many advantages.
그 케이벅스랑 여기랑 같이 비교해 봤을 때 여기가 크게 제가 봤을 때 두 가지가 좋습니다. 하나는 이 운송로가 이제 굉장히 좋다는 거죠. 운송로라 그러면 이제 건축을 하기 위해서 자재 운송이 있을 수 있고, 또 하나는 정기적으로 이제 우리가 월동대원이라든지 있으면은 여기다가 이제 보급을 해줘야지 되는데 그 보급 루트가 확실하게 여기가 괜찮다는 겁니다.
The area around the Jang Bogo Station is composed of a variety of glaciers. The Trans-Antarctica Mountains, the Antarctic Ocean, and the ecosystem unique to the region. It's an ideal location for conducting research on the cryospheric change, climate change, and ecosystem response. In the evening, 2 days after Araon arrived at Terra Nova Bay, an alarm bell rings in the ship. It's a fire alarm. When the crew comes up on the deck, a Kamov helicopter is engulfed in flames. It had crashed into the heliport during a landing. The crew members put themselves at risk to rescue the passengers. The boatswain calls for help with the 9 passengers in the helicopter through a two-way radio. They immediately jump into action. However, one person cannot be found. The crew can't bring the fire under control. If the wind blows toward the hangar, Araon will burst into flame. If the fire spreads to the bottom part of the ship, where jet fuel is loaded, the entire ship could blow up. As the team was already 15 days behind schedule because of the freight vessel BBC Danube, Korean helicopter pilots were trying to help unload cargo from the ship through additional flights.
프로펠러가 이게 닿나 봐 이게. 거기서 이제 굴기 시작한 거지 이게 뒤로. 근데 딱 생각나는 게 이게 죽는구나. 이렇게 해서 죽는구나 그랬는데 몇 번 들더니 쓰자마자 그냥 불이 확 들어오더라고요. 이제 그건 피했지. 근데 앞에 있는 애는 바로 이제 나보다 먼저 뛰어나왔는데 불이 붙었더라고 이 위에. 그 막 화상이 얼굴부터 이제 다 입었지. 이제.
Helicopter crashes often occur during the loading and unloading process. The history of construction in the polar region was made by such challenges and sacrifices. The missing person was later found unconscious. Some had suffered burns, but fortunately, there were no major injuries.
그때 다행히도 그 정비사분이 문을 여셨던 것 같아요.
도는 와중에
문을 여는데 근데 본인은 문 여는 바람에 튕겨서 나가서 머리 부서져 기절했던 거고 그냥 거의 쓸 무렵에 기울어져 있는데 그대로 튕겨 나와서 갑판에 떨어져서 굴렀고요. 굴러서 그 대 끝에 그물망 있는 쪽 그쪽까지 거의 굴렀었거든요. 그래서 사실 처음에 돌 때 죽었다 싶었는데 튕겨 나갈 때 정신 없다가 갑판에서 구를 때 또 굴러 떨어져 죽나 보다 했는데 멈췄어요. 어떻게든 멈춰서 그때는 뭐 일어나가지고.
There are no medical facilities in the Jang Bogo Station. Anyone injured needs to be sent to the U.S. McMurdo Station, which can perform surgical operations. The Korean helicopter pilot suffered a serious injury and was taken to the hospital. He would never fly again. Before he left, he said, "I'm sorry. Please take care of the station." The unloading process for the station construction begins. After gliding the freight vessel to the break bulk point, Araon starts to make a dock. In Terranova Bay, the ice is about 2 meters thick. Thickness of the ice is enough to unload cargo. The ice is neatly cut in order to make it usable for unloading cargo. U.S. McMurdo Station also artificially makes a 6 to 7 meter thick ice dock. Next step is to transport supplies over the sea ice. As the materials and equipment are transported to cars, holes or pools are created in the ice. Cracks around the pools catch the eyes of the workers. They step back at the sight. However, the condition of the ice becomes unstable as the unloading process is delayed. For its time, the construction team at the Jang Bogo Station to unload heavy equipment on ice. anything can go wrong, like the Chinese station's billion-dollar tractor that sank straight into the ocean. The unloading on the ice for 2 seasons was a success, although it was considered a big obstacle at first. Construction materials, including a 100-ton crane and about 500 heavy containers, were safely transported to the construction site. It was right before Christmas. The ship can get into Terra Nova Bay for only 65 days a year in the summer, when the thick ice melts to enable Araon to break through. This is the reason the station construction needs to begin the following year.
수고 많이 하셨어요. 우리 정말 기일 내가 아니라 기간을 단축시켜가지고 이게 일찍 하기 끝나가지고 아주 무한한 영광이고 감사합니다. 네, 잘 됐습니다.
The first phase of the construction proceeded mainly with the foundation work and the steel framework of the building. Temporary dock, roads, and camping facilities were built.
원래 한국 같으면 2시간이면 팔 걸 갖다 지금 3일째 파고 있습니다. 돌보다 더 단단하고요.
A blizzard delayed the construction work for 10 days. Terra Nova Bay is notorious for its bad weather even in Antarctica. Maximum wind speed in Terra Nova Bay is 65 kilometers per hour, which is 1.5 times more than the strongest typhoon to hit Korea.
위험해서 안 되겠어. 막 강행하려고 했더니 사람이 바다로 나가겠는데 뭐. 그래서 저를 나갔더니 절단.
Other countries erected over 200 ferro-concrete piles at the station in order to stand the strong wind. Land is permafrost, so they would drill 30-centimeter piles into the ground 2 meters deep with a diamond drill. It was a process that took more than 10 even with the piles, the roof could stand the strong wind. Therefore, people from the Jang Bogo Station devised a method of construction unique to Korea, which does not require piles and anchors for all the foundation work. In Antarctica, where the temperature falls below zero, the concrete never goes hard. The concrete needs to be left to set for about 3 months at a minimum of 15 degrees Celsius in order to make a solid foundation that has no water leaks. In the end, the concrete is covered with a heat-retaining packing material. Korea's original ice engineering technology was introduced through the second phase of the construction in 2013. The key point was the form and technology that can stand the super typhoon-like wind. The shape of the station is suggestive of a UFO, a stealth aircraft. The triangular shape is the most effective structure for standing the wind blowing from all directions. In order to minimize influences of wind and snowfall, the Korean team adopted an elevated building structure, which is characterized by making enough space between the ground and the building. The architect, who referred to the wind designs of boomerangs and spacecrafts, applied the dimple effect of a golf ball.
여기는 초속 65m로 설계를 했습니다. 그래서 바람이 강하면 이런 건축물들이 뜯겨져서 날아가 버릴 수가 있기 때문에 그 강한 바람을 흐트러주는 역할을 하는 것이 바로 이 딤플의 역할입니다. 그래서 마치 골프공이 바람을 흐트리면서 더 멀리 날아갈 수 있도록 딤플이 들어가는 것처럼 이 딤플의 역할은 바람을 흐트려서 건축물의 영향을 최소화시키기 위해서 설계하고 시공된 딤플입니다.
The dimples on the surface reduced wind friction by about 20% through vortex flows. No ferro-concrete pile was used. In order to shorten the period of construction, the team used new technology that produced all 120 box-shaped modules beforehand. The station could be completed by connecting the modules as if stacking Lego blocks. The key points of ice engineering, the construction technology appropriate for extremely cold regions, are lightweight materials, minimal labor, speed, and having a minimal impact on Antarctica, a common heritage for humankind. In order to enter Antarctica, the construction team has to dust off even the sand of their shoes. They also have to take their urine and feces back to the ship. Generator room, the heart of the Jang Bogo Station, utilizes 3 cogeneration facilities. Waste heat is 100% recycled. Eco-friendly energy such as sunlight and wind power is also utilized. The 170 solar panels are installed on the outer walls of the generator room. There are small wind turbines. All these prevent collisions with the South Polar skewers and also supply eco-friendly energy. They are operated together to reduce the use of fossil fuel and carbon dioxide emission. The Jang Bogo Station consists of about 10 buildings, including Space Weather Observation Facility, Terrestrial Magnetism Observation Facility, Power Plant, and Emergency Shelter. The most important place is the 4-story, 15-meter-high main building. The Jang Bogo Station is closer to the geographic South Pole compared to the King Sejong Station. So white nights continue for 100 days and pitch dark nights for 95 days. The team lives in the Jang Bogo Station in complete isolation for 9 months in the winter season, being unable to go outside. Almost a month has passed since the construction team arrived in Antarctica. It's an isolated region. The station looks almost like a concentration camp. The main building is the most important place because it's the living space for the researchers. The main building is divided into a living facility and a research facility. Former consists of bedrooms, a clinic, a dining room, and a gym. Research facility consists of numerous laboratories, including a bioscience lab, a geosciences and meteorite lab, and a geophysics lab. Because the freight vessel arrived late, construction work was delayed by about 15 days. Korea's construction technology in the polar regions is still in its infancy. However, Jang Bogo Station showed unprecedented technological development in the history of Antarctic station construction.
하지 여기 하자. 여기 하자. 아 좋다.
The snow and the wind died down for the Jang Bogo Station inauguration ceremony held on February 12th.
Nice to meet you.
It looked like a UFO that had made an emergency landing in the ice field. a medium to large size station, one of the most beautiful stations in the Antarctic continent, was complete. It's been 30 years since Korea first made its way into the polar region. We obtained an icebreaker in 2009 and completed the construction of a station in Antarctica in 2014. Korea, the 33rd country to enter Antarctica, became the 10th country to have stations in both polar regions. With the completion of the Jang Bogo Station, 2/3 of Korea's comprehensive project for polar exploration has been completed. The ultimate goal is to develop the Korean route to the ice field and the geographic South Pole. Instead of Amundsen and Scott, Korean scientists will write the history of the Antarctic exploration. After finishing the inauguration ceremony, the construction team hurried its evacuation. Winter has begun for the first 17 researchers in Jang Bogo, Korea's second station in Antarctica.